She was shaking like a leaf when she met me because she doesn't go out of the house normally. James Wade remembers as he describes the moment last month when his impact on people far beyond darts became obvious again. Wade was about to reach the quarterfinals of the Players' Championship in Minehead when his wife, Samantha, was approached by a deeply apprehensive woman. "It was nice when the lady came up," Samantha says before turning to her husband. "But she had so many issues, Wade says. She was agoraphobic, bipolar and had many more anxiety issues, but somehow, she got in a car and allowed her husband to drive her from Bolton to Minehead. The woman was in torment yet knew she needed to talk to someone who would understand, a darts player who, this year, has slipped out of the world top 10 for the first time in over a decade." Wade is still ranked world number 11 and he begins his first match in the World Championship at Alexandra Palace on Sunday believing he is finally playing well enough to match the semi-finals he has reached 3 times previously. But he also suffers and has been diagnosed as having bipolar and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Wade has spoken out so honestly he was asked to become a patron of Bipolar UK, whose logo he wears in place of another sponsored tag. This tangled personal history encouraged the woman to seek his help. Samantha, who was watching her husband play, saw she was really nervous and had a fear. After he had won his match, she told the outline of her story to Samantha, who immediately took her backstage so Wade could meet her. "I gave her a perfect weapon," he suggests. "I said it feels impossible at times, but you take these small steps for your children. I then said something harsh because, sometimes, you need to remember, other people will suffer more than you through this." She gave me a strange look, but I said, "Your children. You need to try to make the biggest effort for them, rather than giving up." She said, "I have given up." I told her you can't give up because it's not fair on them. She promised she would try and her husband said to me afterwards, "I've never heard her that positive and determined for years." I was so impressed because she was shaking uncontrollably. I just thought how brave are you. Her husband was really happy. I'm guessing they hadn't been out together for a long time. "I'm walking around my ideal world with money, cars and sunshine, but behind me it's like a nuclear bomb has gone off." This uplifting story emerges 45 minutes after we start talking and it is introduced by Samantha. She used to be a glamour model, who met her husband when her agent found her a gig as a walk-on girl at a darts tournament in Nottingham. Yet something moving and profound has developed in a marriage which salvages Wade while often testing his wife in unimaginable ways. It becomes clear how fragile Wade is after they confirm that today is a difficult day, in spite of him engaging so fully in this interview, and he also reveals he sometimes likes to come off the pills that stabilize him. Wade describes how his mood alters without medication. "I'm walking around my ideal world where I've got money, cars, sunshine and flowers in front of me while behind me it's like a nuclear bomb has gone off. I have lots of fun and get my sparkle back, but I turn into an idiot again and upset people and I need to take the pills again. But I push my luck a few more days. I'm having the best party. I'm having a ball in my head." Samantha smiles. "It's just the rest of us." I recall how Wade had said that taking his medication removed the devil but robbed him of his sparkle. He looks at me steadily. "Shouldn't I be allowed to sparkle a little? That's the sacrifice I made because when I was in a bad place I wanted to." Wade hesitates. He has said before he wanted to kill himself. Yeah, he says gruffly. Does Samantha understand his desire to sometimes break free from the muffled shackles of medication? No, she doesn't. "I don't," Samantha says, "because I have to live with him." She says this without resentment, and Wade glances at her. "That's your one time to be selfish and you're entitled to that because I'm selfish other times." "Yeah," Samantha says, "it can be really hard work. I can tell when James has missed tablets." James Wade is third behind Phil Taylor and Michael van Gerwen in terms of the most major titles won in the history of the PDC. "Photograph Simon Cooper. She puts them in a tablet box," Wade says, "and I take them out and hide them. After 3 days I start having fun. God knows what I'd end up doing if I was off the medication for 2 weeks. I'd probably remortgage the house." Does the thought scare him? It scares Samantha. "I'd never do it, but it wouldn't scare me. I would upset myself though. I've got 2 personalities. It's like the devil and the angel. I got diagnosed with bipolar and ADHD and I still don't think they got it right. Maybe I'm in denial. I've been to the Priory twice over 33-day stints, so they've had long enough to study me, and I've been with the same psychiatrist for 7 years. But I've said what I think I've got." Samantha looks up and says, softly, a lot of time you're just different. That's all. Wade nods. I think I've got a mild form of autism, but it's a known fact everyone with problems like this disagrees with the specialists who know what they're talking about. Does it help seeing his psychiatrist? I prefer not to see her so much. There's only so much of your past you want to dig up. I know my trigger points by now. The past scars the 34-year-old, and he still feels anger towards teachers who humiliated him as a clown, a troublemaker, without attempting to understand his condition. Wade names the 2 teachers who ridiculed him most and wishes he could see them now. He only found a belated sense of self-worth when he began working as a mechanic in his dad's garage, a form of work he still enjoys away from darts. The game often threatens to unhinge him, but it has also helped. Darts is probably the first thing where somebody said, "You're good at that." Wade is third behind Phil Taylor and Michael Van Gerwen in terms of the most major titles won in the history of the PDC. He has lifted 8 championships, and the first of these, the World Match Play, was in 2007. 3 years later he spent his 27th birthday in tears, wishing he was dead. I went to the Priory after my 27th. The thing that made me do it was when my dad said, "I just want my son back." My dad gives very little. Even though I've spoken about my condition in interviews, HES never even mentioned it since. He loves me, it's just that many men aren't good at talking. I'm pretty good, but HES a closed book. You also understand some of it is probably hereditary. You get the idiotic minority that go look at the nutter. And then the other side who are not sure what to say. When was his second visit to the Priory? About 2 years later. I had to go because my mind was out of control and going 600 miles per hour. I was in mania and needed to be slowed down. Since I've spoken about these issues, people have said it was brave, but talking is the easiest way. You get the idiotic minority that go look at the nutter. And then you get the other side who take a step back because they're not quite sure what to say. If you go in there with an arm in a cast, it's get well soon. This is different. When I came back from the Priory, I went to the UK Open and everyone fell quiet. One player spoke to me and there were 100 players in there. Colin Lloyd spoke to me first and then Andy Jenkins and, slowly, a few others spoke as well. But there's no need to be uncertain when speaking to me. It's not like I've got a contagious disease from the moon. Wade prefers to call his condition a gift. It's also a hindrance, but I think Einstein and Da Vinci had some serious issues. To have the insight and drive to discover or produce something totally new, you can't have a normal thought process. You need to be different to chase something hard when everyone is laughing at you. In terms of his own gift, can he shut out people and his problems when playing darts? If I'm flying, yeah. It doesn't happen very much now. That's partly because of my tablets. If he didn't have to take medication, would he be a much better player? Oh yeah. It's no secret I wasn't taking tablets when I had most of my major success. I still do well, but as soon as I started taking them, it went downhill a little. It upsets me when James is having a bad day, Samantha says. He goes on stage in front of thousands of people and sometimes they give him a hard time. Oh, he doesn't look interested. They have no idea that before he gets on the hockey, HES got a huge battle in his head. Wade nods. I'm just lucky I've got Samantha. She deserves a medal. She knows what goes on behind closed doors and when I'm unbearable. But she doesn't tell anyone. Samantha does not like darts and she had no idea Wade was one of the world's leading players when they met. Within 3 weeks of her leading him out to the hockey, they had tattooed each other's names into their skin. I got her name on my chest, Wade says. Samantha had mine on her hip. I said I'll marry you and she went yeah. The World Championship brings intense scrutiny and, for Wade, failure in darts is highlighted more than any game. You're up there, on your own, and it's very lonely. People rave about the Worlds and I guess there's no greater achievement in the game than winning it. But it's not my favorite tournament. I love Blackpool most. Attention will focus largely on Taylor who, having won the world title 16 times, retires after the tournament. Wade has played Taylor 71 times and won only 14. I beat him the first time we played and the last time we played, but he beat me in 16 finals. If you ask me who is the best when everyone's at their peak, I'd say Taylor, followed by Gary Anderson, Adrian Lewis and Michael Van Gerwen. But Michael is consistently brilliant. Phil is the best I've played against, and then it's Michael. Wade plays Keegan Brown in the first round on Sunday evening and, after discussing such moving and sometimes distressing moments, he is hopeful but pragmatic. He's a good player, but I've got a burst of form which is down to the practice. I'd love to win the tournament, but I don't need to win it. There are more important battles for me to win every day. In the UK, Samaritans can be contacted on 116,123. In the US, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 18,2,738,255. In Australia, the Crisis Support Service Lifeline is 131114. Other international suicide helplines can be found at www.befrienders.org. The William Hill World Darts Championship is live on Sky Sports until the 1st of January.